The opening day of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend has come to a close, and with it, Charles Leclerc and Ferrari have dominated FP2 and essentially FP1 as well, with the newly updated SF-24 EVO alongside its Monaco-specific upgrade package. It looks extremely comfortable from the get-go in the hands of Charles Leclerc, with him looking fast every time he's gone out onto the racetrack. Now this bodes extremely well for the rest of the weekend, particularly so when you have to consider the fact qualifying is the most important part of this weekend. Qualifying puts you in the position to go on and finish where you start. So yeah, what is it about the Ferrari and its SF-24 in the hands of Leclerc that has made it so quick around the streets of Monaco? Well, as I just mentioned, it's 2 points. The upgrades that they brought to Imola, but more specifically the track circuit-specific upgrades for Monaco, which includes a brand new rear ring and beam wing, has helped enable the Ferrari with Leclerc to be fastest and dominate the entire opening practice session. Now, there's one thing also I'd like to add. Even though the times were only like 2/10 between Hamilton and Leclerc in FP2, in fact, there is a much bigger gap that was not actually kind of exploited by Leclerc, and that is his fastest Sector 1 time. On 2 occasions, he did a 17.4, which is about nearly 4/10 quicker than his Sector 1 time on his fastest lap, which would have put him in the 1 minute 10s, which would be a astronomical lap time for FP2. So yeah, that's something else to have a think about when it comes to just how quick Ferrari have been in the hands with Charles Leclerc. So yeah, but what is it exactly about the Ferrari car that has made it so quick around the streets of Monaco? Let's get into that, and we have to start with the brand new updates that they brought specifically in mind for Monaco, and that is of course the brand new rear ring and beam wing. And to begin with, let's talk about the track-specific rear ring and beam wing updates that they've brought for Monaco. Now, interestingly enough, this is the first specification of rear ring that has been newly created and brought to the 2024 SF-24. Throughout the first 7 events to this point, it's always been the same rear ring, no matter the downforce range of each of those tracks. And as we all know, for Monaco, it's all about having the most downforce you can produce and load as well. There is no penalty for drag around the streets of Monaco. And so Ferrari have introduced this higher downforce rear ring and beam wing package with that specifically in mind. And it seems to have paid dividends for them on the opening day's worth of practice that we have seen. And of course, we can't not speak about the EVO upgrade package that they brought to Imola, as this of course had a tremendous impact on the overall performance of the SF-24. And let's start off with the Ferrari SF-24's now Red Bull style side pods with a complete overhaul of its design. The team have moved away from a underbite and moved to the Red Bull style extreme overbite, as you can see from the 2 comparisons before and after the Imola upgrade. The solution has been in the wind tunnel for quite a while at Ferrari in Maranello, with them only finding huge gains after their first couple of initial tests yielded none. Initially, the team wanted to go more with an Aston Martin style extreme undercut, much more in the vein of what you've seen on this year's AMR 24 or late in the season with the RB19 from last year. But as I just said, after extensive testing of the Red Bull style side pods and in particular its overbite inlets, they actually managed to find huge gains from it and thus decided to do a 360 and completely change their direction with their upgrade package. There also appears to be quite a bit of a difference when it comes to the engine cover or the openings on them, as you can see from the pictures on screen with the old and new updates around there. The opening looks substantially larger than it first thought. There's also a greater sculpting of the side pod undercut, as you can see where the Ray-Ban design logos have been situated on the side pod. Moving away from the SF-24's overbite on their side pods. There is of course a brand new floor with this upgrade. And as you can see, there are quite a few changes that have taken place across the board. To begin with, the floor brackets, which are highlighted in yellow, are completely new for the weekend, with it now being attached in a different manner to the cutout in the floor, just ahead of the rear wheels. And this shot provides us with a much better angle and view of the changes that they've made, with the floor cutout now much more sculpted and curved in comparison to the launch spec, and it's almost somewhat of a tunnel now. And the actual brackets themselves are now firmly on one edge, but there's like an extra attachment on it as well. And the cutout is being raised, which enables that kind of tunnel, that kind of vacuum from which the air will travel through and down under the floor. So quite a change there on the SF-24's floor. But all in all, it's going to be a really interesting weekend, I think, as we see more of it unfold. I think we're going to see, finally for once, Ferrari and Charles Leclerc have a tremendous weekend this season, and for the first time ever for Leclerc at Monaco. As we all know, he's got an awful track record in Monaco, no matter what the category is. But I think everything so far is pointing to this weekend being a complete 180 with that in mind. I think it's going to be the weekend that Ferrari are the most competitive all season thus far, and to be the actual team to beat. I think they've just looked tremendous from the get-go, and I think with Leclerc being on some sort of mission to finally have a positive weekend out of the Monaco Grand Prix event, I really just think he's going to get pole position and he's going to go on to win the race. And I think the only way that's not going to happen is, of course, if that so-called curse comes back and kind of plays its mischievous part in the weekend, or some sort of really unfortunate event outside of Leclerc and Ferrari's hands comes out and happens. So I really think all the Ferrari fans out there watching this, you've got a great weekend ahead for you. But yeah, that's the video, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, of course, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you all in another Formula 1 video very soon.